Celebrated for his keen eye and admired for his ruthless business practices, Drew Pritchard has been the face of Salvage Hunters and the only man many trust with their scrapyard find for quite a few years now. Starting from humble beginnings with big dreams, Drew could not have hoped for the kind of success he now possesses in the antique trading world. But this raises the question of whether the only thing that makes one successful is their net worth, or if there is a personal standard one must uphold. Sure, Drew may have all the wealth in the world, but is his legacy defined by his monetary success, or is it defined by the heartbreaking losses he's had to endure in his life? So join us as we take a look at the heartbreaking tragedy of Drew Pritchard from Salvage Hunters. We have some exciting news. We've sold our yard. Somebody made me an offer I could not refuse, and it's gone. But most of our business, now over 90%, is online, so we're excited about it. Andrew Thomas Pritchard, or as he's known by many today, Drew Pritchard, was born and raised in 1970 in Conwy, Wales. Nothing about his childhood stands out in particular, except perhaps his unusual and reverent interest in antiques. Looking back now, it makes perfect sense for Drew to have adopted the career trajectory he did. But back then, in a small village in the north of Wales, his interest in antiques set him apart from others quite a bit. He told Homes and Antiques magazine in an interview that he couldn't remember a time when he was not completely absorbed by antiques. That interest was actually inherited from none other than his own father, who collected antiques, instruments, motorbikes, and the like. While other kids his age might have been dazzled by pristine museums and elegantly carved marble, Drew preferred to accompany his dad to scrapyards and scour his local beaches with his friends. This broken and beaten-down paraphernalia he would then sell in order to buy sweets and magazines. He explained that he had quite a business-oriented mind, even at a very young age. While helping his father repair old vehicles, he decided pretty early on that he wanted to be an antiques dealer when he grew up. This naturally came with its own set of challenges because the only way to become an antiques dealer was to first become a restorer. Drew began his career in earnest as a young adult, immediately enrolling himself in an apprenticeship working for a glass restorer. He had never been particularly gifted at academia and came out of high school with little to no qualifications to his name. There is more than one way to be successful, though. Years later, after putting in all the heart and dedication he could muster, he was finally able to set up on his own. However, even then, the setup was operated from his father's garage, where he too dealt in stained glass windows. It wasn't until the late 1980s, with no more than 200 pounds in his pocket and a beat-up VW Beetle, that he began his career as an antique dealer. For someone whose life has never exactly been a bed of roses, it made perfect karmic sense that he'd struggled quite a bit before landing on his feet. The antique world, as he describes it, is one that's shrouded in secrecy, or at least it was when he joined the scene. Dealers were very possessive of their tricks of the trade, so he had to learn everything on his own. At the beginning, he was spending more than he was earning. The newspaper ad alone cost him £15 a month. Eventually, he grew his business enough to have slimmed down his business model, sell his antiques for a ridiculous amount of money, and even wrote a book titled How Not to Be an Antiques Dealer. Everything I've learned that nobody told me. In 2011, he finally got his big break and his own show. Salvage Hunters follows him searching for hidden treasures and restoring them before being able to sell them with massive profits. Today, we know the show to be a massive success, having spawned over 17 seasons and a multitude of spin-offs like Salvage Hunters, Classic Cars, and Salvage Hunters, the Restorers. Today, he's accumulated an awe-inspiring list of clients. As per North Wales Live, the TV legend is in consistent contact with American fashion designer Ralph Lauren and esteemed chef Marco Pierre White. However, is that all there is to Drew's legacy? A struggle story that led to success? Finding worth in the worthless? That's not all there is to life. He, like most human beings, is not immune to personal criticism. Over the course of his life, Drew has dealt with a lot of mishaps, and because of his fame, most did not escape the public eye. Take, for example, how in 2017, Drew got public attention for something we're sure he'd rather have kept hidden. On the 6th of October, The Sun reported that Drew had been accused of an affair with a businessman's wife, which led to a pub altercation involving the two, allegedly family friends before the incident. Businessman Janice Ben Thomas claimed he saw red when Drew smirked at him across the Liverpool Arms pub in Conway. This was because he alleged that Drew had an affair with his wife, Amanda, about 2 years ago. As it turns out, Drew Pritchard, who was at this time happily married to his wife, Rebecca, was not just cheating on her with Amanda, but with multiple other women. The other women had started sending threatening texts to Amanda when their affair came to an end, citing her as the reason for their relationships, with Drew also coming to an untimely end. Drew married Rebecca in 1998, but their love story began well before that. Apparently, both of them met within the antique trade industry, and their mutual passion and love for history and restoration set them on their path to marriage. The two were partners in life and business and were never in disagreement, at least in the public eye. When Salvage Hunters launched in 2011, the two played a key role in making the show the huge success it inevitably became. Drew's affair with Amanda coming to light started a domino effect, which eventually took over many other aspects of his life, as something this intimate usually does. Since Drew and Janice were friends well before the affair took place, once people started finding out about it, Drew asked Amanda to either tell Janice herself or he would, given that it was only a matter of time before he found out from media sources. Somehow, this was considered a better alternative. Turns out, telling Janice worked out well for Amanda, with the two of them working to repair their marriage and focus on ensuring their kids were protected. According to Janice, though, Drew smirking at him across the bar was not the only thing that made him punch the antique trader across the face outside the pub. Reports say Drew had also instigated the incident by calling Janice a coward for not fighting with him after he found out about the affair. The smirk, on top of that, felt to Janice Thomas like condescension and an admission of a sixer of victory over him. Unfortunately, the Thomases did not end up winning the suit and were fined a total of £1,440, ordered to pay £181 in costs. He admitted guilt, but the judge felt that no restraining order was necessary. For Drew, the consequences were mainly social, as his success, vast as it was, did not make him immune to online critique. This, for the most part, acted as the beginning of the end of Drew Pritchard's luck in the industry and in personal life endeavors. As it turns out, the world doesn't take kindly to a celebrity star cheating on his equally well-liked celebrity wife. The dominoes of his misfortune fell gradually. In 2018, it was reported that he was banned from entering every pub in his North Wales hometown after an alleged assault. He was placed on what the locals at Conway called a pub watch, meaning he was effectively banned from every bar in the town. The exact details of the altercation and the reasons for his banning are still unclear, but a landlord of the pub watch scheme confirming his name on the list made his popularity take yet another hit. Besides his personal life endeavors, over the years, Drew has garnered his fair share of hatred for having a bit of an attitude problem. Some consider his blatant disregard for anything that doesn't carry monetary value to be elitist, and this is especially evident when he criticizes the tastes and practices of others in the antiques community. Naturally, after being dragged through the mud by the media, and quite literally by Janice Thomas himself, it was inevitable that Rebecca and Drew had to separate. This, however, was made particularly difficult because of just how interconnected both their personal and professional lives were. Though the duo had been married for around 19 years at the time, and a revelation like that might create a lot of animosity against each other, Rebecca handled the crisis with a lot of grace. She divorced him shortly after, but still kept up a professional working relationship with him, one that survived quite a few more seasons of Salvage Hunters. When they were married, Drew lived in a former Methodist chapel near Egglesbach in the Conwy Valley after having flipped it himself. The house was perfect for the family, and up until the divorce, the couple resided in the house where Drew claimed they had great times. After the divorce, he moved with his son to a smaller 1820s townhouse just outside Conway's walls. He also closed up his shop in Conway, a decision that was not made lightly. The store is now a baked goods and general store. With this massive change in his life came a period of immense reflection for the 50-year-old. In 2023, Drew announced that he had binned his old life since everything had gotten too much for him. He's now living in the West Country, and since the divorce, he's been focusing on restoring a 1790s property, converting it from 5 flats back into townhouse. He claimed that in the middle of it somewhere, he had a blip, a moment where he paused and realized he had to start anew. For someone who spent their entire life dedicated to just one thing, this could be